Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Public Sector Compensation Reform Program to begin next. Police Commissioner responds to PNP's 60-day ultimatum. Later in sports, Reggae Boys less than 7 hours away from crucial World Cup qualifier against. I'm Giovanni Dennis and here are the details. We begin this afternoon with a TVJ News follow-up. Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson has responded to opposition leader Mark Golding's ultimatum. Mr. Golding at a press conference this week said if the commissioner fails to improve the JCF tactics to address the rising murder rate in 60 days, he should resign. The commissioner responded on the morning agenda on PAHO 106.
On the defensive, Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson continues to tout the work of the Jamaica Constabulary Force even as murders are climbing. In response to the opposition's criticism about the operations of the force in dealing with crime, the police commissioner responded to the PNP's ultimatum.
What would have been very helpful to us on this side, on the security side, is if a 60-day ultimatum was given to criminals and gunmen to do otherwise, or we'll have a united parliament against them. That would have been very useful to us.
Since the start of the year, the police have increased the operations in several crime-plagued communities, and the commissioner says they have been working. But when challenged about the effectiveness, this was what he had to say.
Violence is what's going up, and we have a challenge of violence in the society. And that is why 19% or 17%, depends on which numbers you use, of murders in this country are interpersonal. There's a lot of ways to resolve this. And also, 85% of all murders are done with an illegal firearm. Now, you can't, if all other crimes are trending down, they don't trend down by accident. They trend down because of the work of the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
A major concern has always been the trust factor between police and civilians, but the commissioner insists there have been improvements in this regard.
We've arrested them. I'm not saying we've arrested all of them, but they do so at their own peril. But I don't know that that is the majority of our officers at all. I doubt it. As a matter of fact, it's not. It's not the majority of our officers who are like that. And our officers are arresting them. I want to make that point. It's not some external agency or someone else. Our officers are doing the arrest.
More than 100 people have been murdered since the start of the year, with the parish of St. James so far leading with the most murders. Cody-Ann Barrett, TVJ News.
Disgruntled employees from the National Council on Technical and Vocational Education and Training NCT VET and Vocational Training Development Institute VDTI are back at work. This afternoon, an agreement was reached to meet with officials from the Education Ministry to discuss the workers' grievances. Sandy Williams has our TVJ News follow-up.
No work! Justice for TVJ!
A week ago, employees at the National Council on Technical and Vocational Education and Training, NCT VET, and Vocational Training Development Institute, VTDI, staged a protest over salary and other contract issues. They claimed the slow pace of the transitioning process of the entities from Heart Trust NSTA to the Education Ministry was responsible for the problems. But during the protest last Thursday, the management of Heart Trust NSTA intervened. The workers were assured that a meeting will be scheduled with the Education Ministry for next Monday.
The senior manager of Heart and the acting head of corporate services for Heart came to visit us, to defuse the situation and to reassure us that they are trying to have the Ministry of Education come to the table. Coming out of that discussion, today we received word that they were trying to arrange a meeting with the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education. He could not confirm a meeting for the following week, so we'll be meeting with her on the 31st of January.
The workers had strike for 6 days, and according to Chairman of VDTI, Professor Halden Morris, classes at the entities were impacted.
I guess there will be always some level of disruption as it relates to what is happening now. It will take time to work out some of these issues. So I guess good sense will prevail there, and as such, staff members are back to work.
In the meantime, National Workers Union delegate for NCT Vet, Earl Samuels, confirms the employees have returned to work on Wednesday.
Persons did not want to return to work, but between me and the union rep, Mr. Alexi Hull, we tried to reason with them, indicate that we're going through the process of the industrial dispute, but in the interim we should return to work, in good faith, and then we're hearing what happens on Monday. We will decide our next move after that.
However, he explains that if the outcome of the meeting is not favorable, normalcy cannot be guaranteed.
Persons did not want to return to work, but between me and the union rep, Mr. Alexi Hull, we tried to reason with them, indicate that we're going through the process of the industrial dispute, but in the interim we should return to work, in good faith, and then we're hearing what happens on Monday. We will decide our next move after that.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
To other news, for a second day, there's a standoff between residents of Grandspen in St. Thomas and workers on a section of the Southern Coastal Highway, which brought the project to a stop. Residents argue the inconvenience caused by the project is a retrograde step.
The Southern Coastal Highway, when completed, is expected to bring the long-awaited development to St. Thomas. But on Wednesday, placard-bearing residents of Grandspen stalled the project by blocking the road.
We are not anti-development now, but when it comes on to being fair to us, there's no fairness.
In order to build that section of the highway, the developers have to divert traffic around the community. But residents say that is bringing undue hardship to them.
For months now, we have been asking them to meet us partway and how the community is going to access transportation, and nothing has been forthcoming. All they are saying that they will be having a meeting with us soon. Soon is about 6 months now. Nothing no come from the MP. I get Jamaica now. Nothing no come from the MP, and I don't care. Nothing no come from no councillor. Nothing no come from nobody. That's a kill we and the people them people will live here and no answer.
They say they are now forced to walk the dusty road to get transportation. It's understood that at previous meetings with representatives of the National Works Agency, NWA, the residents made suggestions that would lessen the difficulties. When we contacted NWA Communication and Customer Services Manager Stephen Shaw, he said several meetings were held over the past year outlining how the work would impact the community. He acknowledged that the residents had made suggestions. He says discussions have been ongoing, with a meeting scheduled for next week between NWA officers and the community's executive representatives.
They would have wished for us to create an access separate from that which we have designed. And we explained that that was not possible given the terrain. Suggestions were made about creating a tunnel which would have had to be like 180 meters long. Very, very expensive. That would be like building another road.
In light of the protest and other unforeseeable challenges, Mr. Shaw says he could not give a timeline for completion.
And it's now time for a break here on the Midday News, but please stay with us. We'll have much more when you return. Welcome back. We're continuing the news. A promise this afternoon from the government to implement reforms geared towards improving compensation for public sector workers. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark is hoping the process will begin at the start of the new financial year. O'Shane Masters has the details.
An acknowledgement by the Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark about the salary scale of some public sector workers. Speaking at the Jamaica Stock Exchange's 17th Regional Conference on Wednesday, Dr. Clark said for the financial year, which begins April 1, there will be significant changes. He says the current compensation structure is chronically unsustainable. Hence, he says some reorientation of how the public sector is to operate will have to be addressed.
For one, we're unable to attract and retain the professionals we need to run the public bureaucracy. And it has reached an acute level. We have over 325 grade levels in the public sector and 185 allowances, making public sector compensation complex, making it inequitable, making it non-transparent, and fiscally risky. And we're not making sufficient use of technology in how we optimize the organization and operational efficiency of the public sector. And we have to address that.
His comments come following the recent stalemate between the government and some public sector groups in the ongoing wage negotiations. While some groups have accepted the government's offer, the teachers and police have been steadfast in their position and have rejected the government's 4% offer. Dr. Clark says once the issues identified within the public sector are fixed, then the financial aspect can be aligned.
This restructuring, as necessary as it is not seen as and does not lead to a reversal of the fiscal and economic stability that we have achieved. That would be a colossal setback for everyone, including public sector employees.
The finance minister says while that restructuring will be in play, the government will continue to do mergers, closures, and divestment of public assets. The target, Dr. Clark noted, is to bring back public sector wages in line with the country's gross domestic product, GDP. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
To the latest on the coronavirus now, the number of persons hospitalized with COVID-19 has increased to 562. 63 of the patients are severely ill, while 21 are critically ill. The country recorded 500 new cases on Wednesday from 2,262 samples. The overall case count is now 122,463. The country's COVID-19 positivity rate fell to 36.5%. 2 deaths were recorded yesterday. Now, this increased the overall death toll to 2,617. 4 deaths are under investigation. 200 people have recovered from the virus. The total recoveries now stand at 68,949. 615,083 persons are now fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Still on COVID-19, the Pan American Health Organization says Latin America and the Caribbean are nowhere close to ending the COVID-19 pandemic. PAHO's director, Dr. Carissa Etienne, who made the comment during a media briefing on Wednesday, says it's too soon to make this prediction.
What I can say is that we have the tools to control the spread of COVID, which has been unprecedented. These tools are also effective against the Omicron variant and can help all of us control transmission. So, first, get vaccinated when it is your turn and get a booster when your country recommends it for your age group or condition. Second, continue to use caution and protect yourself from exposure to the virus.
Etienne is urging persons to continue using the public health tools outlined by the various countries.
That's straightforward. If we do all these things consistently, we can help reduce transmission of SARS-CoV-2, including its Omicron variant, and we will be contributing to advance the end of the pandemic.
Residents and motorists along the Spur Tree main road in Manchester are again calling for more measures to make the road safer for motorists. On Wednesday, a truck with sand traveling down Spur Tree collided with a car traveling in the opposite direction. Both vehicles crashed in this gully. Now, it's understood that the driver of the truck and a female passenger managed to escape serious injuries by jumping out before it overturned. The driver of the car also managed to escape from his vehicle. An alleged eyewitness and a taxi operator who assisted the injured occupants of both vehicles to hospital say the injuries to the occupants did not appear to be life-threatening. But motorists are concerned as there have been numerous crashes, especially when it rains.
It's very slippery when it is wet, and there's no warning signs, and for years and years accidents have been happening. The road could have been repaved in a different way so you could secure better traction, especially for vehicles like pickups or panel buses that are not laden. They easily slip when they come around that corner, especially down the bottom.
It's scary at times because you don't know what you're going to come upon. approaching the corners and those heavy trucks coming down, you don't know what you will face. So it's scary.
Residents in the area are also in danger as vehicles threaten life and property.
This is the house that had to be abandoned because numerous trucks ran into the house. Even the occupants of the house, they were at high risk and they was to abandon the house as well. So this area here could use as a sandbank to slow down the trucks and prevent the trucks from dropping over onto other vehicles coming up in opposite direction.
Persons could be more educated, but I think it just comes down to the drivers operating these vehicles and the servicing of these vehicles. Too many times you see these trucks just run off the road for, I don't know what exactly happened to these vehicles, but you see too many of these accidents.
And it's now time for the Business Minute with Cody and Barrett.
Spur Tree Spices Jamaica Limited will be investing in developing ackee farms. According to its CEO, Albert Bailey, with less than 50% of the demand for ackee being fulfilled on the international market, the company is looking at ways to deal with the supply issue.
Nobody has really invested in this significantly. As a business, this is something that we're looking at. This is something that our plans are based on, and that will be implemented. We have started some work in this regard, and that is something that we'll be accelerating as we accelerate the production, the increase in our production of ackee.
In business internationally, Tesla's CEO Elon Musk is projecting sales to grow by more than 50% in 2022 compared with last year, despite supply chain problems. The electric car maker reported a record $5.5 billion profit last year. Sales at the firm rocketed 71% to $53.8 billion in 2021 as it delivered more than 936,000 vehicles to customers. But the firm warned growth would slow as supply chain issues affecting car makers continue to limit its manufacturing capacity. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And we now head to a quick break. When we come back, regional and international stories as well as sports when we return. Welcome back. It's time now for a look at the top regional and international stories with Sandy Williams.
In the region, in Guyana, opposition leader Joseph Harman has tendered his resignation less than 24 hours after he demitted office as General Secretary of the opposition coalition, a Partnership for National Unity, APNU. There has been no official statement on the matter. However, media reports on Wednesday said Harman tendered his resignation earlier during the day to the Speaker of the National Assembly, the leader of the People's National Congress Reform and APNU Chairman Aubrey Norton, and the leader of Alliance for Change. Harman is expected to maintain his seat in the National Assembly, but his resignation sets the stage for the election of a new leader of the opposition. On the international scene, face coverings and COVID passes are no longer legally required in England after the relaxation of Plan B rules came into effect on Thursday. Health Secretary Sajid Javid said the measures could be lifted due to the vaccine rollout's success and a better understanding of COVID treatments. The PM's official spokesman said mask wearing would now be a matter of personal judgment. The UK government said public health guidance urging people to wear face covering in crowded and enclosed spaces when coming into contact with strangers will remain. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And it's now time for sports with Simon Preston, who's standing by.
It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. Let's kick off with football as interim head coach Paul Hall says the Jamaicans will be looking to starve the Mexicans of possession in the World Cup qualifier at the National Stadium this evening. Hall says he's aware of the strengths of the Mexicans on the ball and the boys will be hoping to minimize their impact.
I expected the Mexicans to attack in wide areas. I've watched them a few times. I've watched them against different teams in the over the last year. I watched a lot against the Americans, and the two wide players are very good. the Mexicans get the ball, they possess the ball well. And it's not even so much individuals I want to talk about, it's the movements of Mexico. They're comfortable in possession, they rotate, they like to drop people into defense to try and build their attacks. They're all comfortable on the ball, they like to get their fullbacks on the ball.
Kickoff is at 7 o'clock. Jamaica are 6th in the octagon on 7 points and are 7 points adrift of the top 4. To cricket we go now, as Jamaican and West Indian all-rounder Rovman Powell says he's hoping his maiden T20 international century will give him the momentum he needs to progress his career. The 28-year-old became only the 3rd West Indian after Chris Gayle and Evan Lewis to score a T20 international century as the Caribbean side defeated England by 20 runs in Barbados on Wednesday.
It means a lot, for the last 6 or 7 months I had it tough, not scoring a lot of runs, and it's good for me to get the opportunity tonight and I take it. I hope it's a breakthrough international performance, it's just for me now to go back to the drawing board, think about the stuff that I did right, and hopefully I can replicate it come Saturday.
Powell says he has also been working on his batting against spin bowling.
It's just doing some research. All great players of spin do 3 things. It's either they advance down the wicket, it's either they sweep, or they use the crease very well. I decide over the last few months that I will incorporate 2 of them into my game. I will start to sweep a little more, and I will advance down the wicket a little bit more, and I think that shows tonight.
The West Indies leads the 5-match T20 series 2-1. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Giovanni, it's over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Simon. Do or die tonight for the Reggae Boys?
Not necessarily. Even with a point, things can happen in terms of getting that 4th spot, but certainly it's no margin for error right now, so a victory is needed to really get the campaign up and running.
Okay, well, we are up and running out of the Midday News. That's it. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.